Hi, it's Rosie at RoseByNameCo. I am in the middle of making a journal, and I thought I would take you along to show you what my process is and let's say how I decorate my pages, which pages or papers I might want to use. So this is the journal Amethyst, and it is in my shop now. It is complete. But I do have a series of episodes where I go through everything I might do in a journal. And so here I like to stamp or use the rubber stamps or do some stenciling. I did get a few small stencils from Croatia, like this one. And so I like to put the circle for some reason, like in the middle, so you get half and half. Half on one page, half on the other. So this one I already sewn some pockets on there, and in the back I put a little flower there in purple. This page I like to add also little notebooks, mini notebooks as I call them, and this one I already glued on, so it's ready for some kind of embellishment, maybe on top. So I like to work with fabric a lot, and I'm using this blue and white. It is very striking, beautiful blue that I'm using sparingly. So looks like I will be putting that on the very top as an embellishment for that page with the notebook. I am narrating this time to see how that goes, because usually I'm just, talking live on the video. But I've heard many creators also narrate as they make these videos. The thing is, I like to also watch other crafting videos while I'm working. So right now, while I am doing these pages, I am watching probably Wendy from Wendy's Journal Adventure, maybe Sheena from Luna Rosu, Amity Bloom, and Sigita, some other creators that I like to watch. So it helps me to motivate myself to complete the project and come up with some different or new ideas, or some of their ideas give me some other idea as well. So now I have more fabric, so I'm gonna try to put that as a tab on the other side. So there's still lots of room on this page for actual journaling or decorating for yourself as well. But I do like to put something on there to maybe get you started. So I'm using my trusty little Tim Holtz mini stapler. It's still working well, and sometimes though I like those staples to be completely flat. Sometimes it kind of just stays up a little, so I press it down a little bit more. Upstairs, when I'm working upstairs or somewhere in my storeroom, I think I have a small hammer, and it works really well if I just hammer it down a little bit. And also works very well for eyelets, because eyelets sometimes like to stay up and be a little bit rough, or a part of it stays up and the rest is down, and on the other side there of the loop. And so if I use the hammer on it, it just lays beautifully flat. So I did decide to add a page to each signature. There are 2 signatures of this blue paper. I think I already had enough pages that I chose there. but I wanted to see if I can incorporate the blue paper as well. So there I have a children's book page from a fairy tale. I'm not sure if it's Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty, but I have decided to add the a blue page in there somewhere. There, and then it's always it's easy to keep adding pages, but later it's always a little bit iffy about how many pages I should have, really, because it becomes too thick. So of course this is only pages without any inserts, and so it seems to fit fine. It's not too alligator mouth, but later, once I add things into it, it will become a chunky little journal. So I have to be careful, because I could add maybe 20 pages, but I try to stick to maybe 10, 12, the most maybe 15 per signature, because of other things that I might be incorporating into the journal. Okay, so I'm organizing some more pages there. And the little perforated holes there, it doesn't bother me too much. Sometimes I leave them, but usually I like to take it off, because it also does become a little bit spiky, a little bit prickly. So I do take them off. But I like the way that one turned out, that second page there, with a little bit of that. So I should watch that, see if I can do that in the future as well. So this is a trifold, it looks like, page, where it's going to have 3 sides. And that's handy as well sometimes, because it gives you a little bit of extra space for journaling or collaging, or whatever it is you like to do in your journal. And there's my little corner punch with a little bit of design that I like to use. I'm trying not to punch every page, because sometimes that happens. I get, carried away. And there's my little bits of fabric that I might use as tabs, or just sewn on for color. And so I did cut out a whole bunch of fabrics, and I have a bag full to go through and use and see what might be fitting where. Now, am I very selective about the color? I do try to sort of incorporate the colors of fabric that go a little bit with the rest of the pages. It is not too crucial, but let's say I wanted something in the blue, so I believe I have a dark blue or green and a dark blue that I'll be using on these pages. Now you can sew them on or staple them on, whichever way might suit you best. I also like to sew practically every page. I also get carried away on that, and I have to remind myself sometimes that not everything has to be sewn. I can just glue or staple on occasion, but that sewing machine is sitting there just, calling me, Rosie, use me. So I did sew this one very quickly there. I didn't really show the sewing machine too much, because of course it makes a lot of noise. So I did edit this video a little bit. So this video will be part 1 of, I think, 4 maybe, that it will turn out to be by the time I was done with this journal. And a lot of detail-y work goes into making journals, that maybe when you look at a page, it just seems like a piece of fabric or a piece of, piece of collaging, but each step does take some time. And in figuring out how to design that page or what to put on it, or if not to put anything on it, to leave it completely blank. So I have some of my stamps that I also brought back from Croatia, and those are music notes of all sorts. And I like this round one. However, it is quite dense. So the details are very fine, but still for some reason I like using it. I think because it's a circle and it's a little bit different than your usual square or rectangle. Looks like it needs a little more ink to show the detail. I'm going to try the purple one to see if maybe that one goes on a little bit better. I use my ink pads like forever. I hardly ever like buy a new one. If I buy a new one, it will be a different color just so I have choices in the colors. But for me, it doesn't have to be super dark. I mean, this is all vintage that I'm creating, and the entire stamp will not be perfect. There might be some parts that I'm missing. So for this one, looks like I'm going again for the half and half on those two pages, so that you have half on one side and half on the other. Yeah, looks like I got a bit of ink on my fingers there, but who doesn't? And so let's see, am I going to put anything else in this? Should I leave it? That's always the question. Should I leave the rest of it as it is? Should I put an image on it somewhere? So it looks like I'm adding. That looks like one of my photography photos and or images, which I did then collage digitally in Photoshop. Added some lines for writing there, and put a darker frame around that image of a tree. And I made it in a negative so that it looks like it's at night. So I think the blues went quite well. Now look at my little Singer tin. It was the cutest thing. I found that at the thrift store, and I just had to have it because I thought it was so cute. The top is a little bit wobbly there where it opens, but it didn't bother me much. It still closes and locks, so we're good there. So I put bits of all my eyelash trim and different trim that I have, and into this little Singer bin. And I chose blue eyelash trim just to put on the edge there on the paper clip, so that some fibers hang out into the journal, cascading, over the pages and so on. I like that look. Okay, and I make knots on it to make sure it doesn't come off, because on occasion it does. Okay, so I'm leaving, some pages completely blank for journaling or adding something else to it. And there we go, a better look at that image of the tree. And, well, I'm going to round the corners. That's another thing, obsession of mine is rounding the corners. because sometimes they become also prickly a little bit, quite sharp. And so I have the, the corner punch in different sizes anyways. So there's that blue page. Now where shall I put it? Maybe there was with that's a little bit of fabric there, and it's in the blue scheme, so maybe be there. I mean, why not? It's not a completely, it's not a disaster if you put a page somewhere where, perhaps it doesn't belong, but let's say belongs there. So I have some ribbon on top there and some lacy tabs and so on. So the cover for the signature is cardstock. So I still have to work on that and put something else on it so it's not completely bare. Yeah, I better put my stamp away and try to keep the workspace a little bit clean so that it doesn't become overly, cluttered. And that's another hard thing to do because you're always trying to get this out and that out. Before you know it, your whole desk is full of things. So yeah, I think I missed one page that still belongs in the journal. There we go. And now for this one, I have some, I printed that page. It is of an eco dyed page that I did. And then, so I pockets that are, some that are sort of like, they look upside down, but they're not really, they're just top pockets. And there's the fairy tale page. And I like that yellow page that I just flipped over there. I'll probably come back to it. It has a bit of red on it or orange, and it's just, very little minimal decoration, but very, very interesting and pleasing to look at. So I'm going to put on a little bit of a writing spot there on that page where it's all text. Usually I like to do that where there's a lot of text. I leave you some to read if you wish to read, but I do like to put a bit of empty space there for just some small note or something. And they might come in different sizes and different colors. Now what shall I do with that? So it does a little bit of a flip over there, so a little bit bigger page again for writing, but I might end up putting some of that blue paper at the edge. So I will, cut that to size. And usually once I cut up some pages, I try to use the entire thing because often we end up with so many scraps. And whether it goes into the journal or I make a tag out of it or a pocket or something else, I do try to use it. And I still end up with scraps, but for the most part, I try to use everything that I have on my desk on that day, and including throw something out, which is very hard to do because every little piece, even the teeniest piece, I can still use somewhere at some point. Looks like I have a little rip on that page, but it doesn't bother me too much. Let me see. it's going to be covered because I'm putting the blue paper on. There I go. Again, rounding those corners. And I'm going to add glue just on 3 sides, and it looks like it's going to be a pocket, small pocket anyways, with some small things. But that blue, yeah, a little splash of blue goes a long way on that empty page otherwise. But you still have some space to journal around it or right on top of it, really. I mean, just because it's a pocket doesn't mean you that you can't write on it. Of course you can. Sticky fingers, yes, working and crafting. Always sticky fingers, glue all over, you know, on some papers where it belongs and where it doesn't belong, and of course on the fingers. And especially Fabric Tech is a very sticky glue. It's one of my favorites that I work with, but it does get on my fingers sometimes. So here I'm looking for something I might put on that blue, whether it's flower or bird, or I think I saw maybe a butterfly that I wanted, or, well, maybe a flower in this case. Just for a little bit more of something on there. But even with that, excuse me, even with that, you can always add a little bit more. Okay, well, that looks nice. A simple embellishment, sometimes it also goes a long way. And let's see, something else in there. Yeah, there's the butterfly. Excuse me, I do recall that I got a small butterfly out of there and put it on the other side. So it looks even good enough all on its own, the blue. It's just a lovely shade of blue. I'm just going to put a little bit of a book page on there. There, for something a little bit more. And there is, that's not Cinderella, is it? Is it Sleeping Beauty? I think so. By the spinning wheel there. Yeah, so it did end up being a small pocket for something narrow. But at the same time, actually, I probably should have left that piece of paper in there. It was fine, just for a small message in there. So you can also put a bigger sheet of paper and just keep it folded. That looks nice as well. Okay. So next page, let's see what comes up. That one, I put a pocket on the bottom as I folded up that bottom pocket. It was a little bit too tall, so I folded it and I thought, oh, I will just leave it and sew over it. And then it turned out to be a pocket on the bottom, like a double pocket and a pocket on the top. These are some of my photos on stickers, and I just thought, okay, let me choose one of these. And that pink flower looks like will go just right. And I wanted to make it a pocket, so 3/4 of it, I need the blue, or not the blue, the yellow part that comes off the sticker to stay on there. So I'm going to be trying to cut a piece of it off just right after I cut around the flower. Sometimes I use big scissors for fussy cutting, and so if I have more to do, then I use the smaller scissors that I have. But if I'm just doing it in a hurry on one piece anyways, then I'll just go around it with large scissors. So in the back part of it, where you peel off the sticker, I wanted to leave that yellow so that it didn't stick all the way, but just around the two edges. And I believe I cut off the wrong edge at first, and I had to put it back on. So let's see if that worked or not. I am sticking it on, but something is wrong. Okay, so I have it sticking on the top instead of the bottom, so I had to take it off. But hey, mistakes happen, and well, you just fix it and go on with it. It's not like I'm going to throw that out now. I'm just going to put back the piece that I cut off. There. Okay, so now I have to make sure I cut the right side on the bottom part that will hold the pocket. There we go. Okay, let's see if that works now. Because I had to take it off, I'm putting a little bit more glue to make sure that it stays put. Sorry, out of view there a little bit. I try to edit so that those parts where my hands are out of view, it's easy to forget. I mean, that you need to be more on top of that table to be in the frame. Anyhow, we're done with that. There's that yellow page that I mentioned. I have a little bit of red on there in the corner, but I don't know, I like it a lot with the coffee stained little piece of paper, and that one with the brown and red and yellow. Am I doing something else with that? Maybe just put something, because I wanted to decorate, I think, the back, but not with much, just something small. So I chose to use yeah, a little bit of washi there. I don't have a lot of washi. I don't know, I've had the same washi for like years, and I haven't bought much new ones. So I use it, whatever it is I have. Okay. And I'm just putting, again, half and half between the two sides. And then turn out on the other page, it goes right along the next page from a book, a vintage book. And you come to the middle, but I think I decided I'm going to do the middle more towards the end and go on to other pages. Let's see, another yellow page. That one has a notebook also on the side there, on the other side. But what do I want to put on this side? Leave it blank or put something. So I decided I would also go with the fabric, like on the other side where I have the mini notebook. I like using my serrated scissors as well. I would use them on everything, but some of the fabric, I do like the torn look as well. So I try not to zigzag cut everything. So I'm going to put this piece of fabric a little bit hanging over that yellow page on this side, and then just a little bit on the other side instead of half and half. I'm a little bit out of view here again, but there we go. Yeah, so it's just going to be like a fabric flip there. And as well, you know, double duty again, a little bit of color on the other side as well. So I just staple that on. Could be sewn, but it holds well. There. Okay, so just a little bit more space for writing and a little bit of embellishment. Okay. And that one looks like the page was torn a little bit. I could have left it really, but I wanted to make sure that that smaller pocket holds something when I put in it because it could fall out. So I'm going to punch out a little bit of the blue paper just so it's not just, you know, cut up piece of paper. I like that punch as well. And yeah, very cute. So we're going to put that on there to fix that corner on that ripped page. Again, just because something's ripped, either I'm going to sew it together, glue it together. I'm going to do something with that page. It's just so I can use it because I'm not going to be throwing it out. Nothing needs to be thrown out. Everything is fixable. And when you make a mistake too, it's fixable. So I put a little bit too much glue as well, so it was holding it down at the corner. So I'm trying to take some glue off, but it was still quite sticky. So I decided I'm just going to fold the little bit inside, a little bit of that edge. And that fixed that problem of being too sticky in the corner. There we go. Still trying to get some glue off there. Anyhow, it's good. I'm just adding just a tad more at the very edge of the glue. I'm using Eileen's tacky glue on that one. So this was part 1. And I'll see you in part 2. Take care. Thank you for watching. It's Rosie at RoseByNameCo. Bye-bye.